the other day, well, thank God Donald hasn't started a war. And my friend said, he did, the Civil War. I went, oh, right.
Yeah.
So maybe
Yeah.
Trump is the Vietnam War, which was a catalyst, difficult as it was, and as horrendous as all of this is now. We did stop that war. The people stopped that war. And so I'm hoping, praying that we're just finally maybe going around the corner a little bit towards light, and there'll be some light for 10 years, I hope.
I hope so, too. And where are you at? You in L.A. still?
Yeah, I'm in Santa Monica, where I was born, and my mom was born here in 1904. But we're not native.
No?
Chumash Indians are the natives, first people.
Where's your people from?
Ireland.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
But you've been in Los Angeles for the whole time. You've seen the whole, rise and fall again of Los Angeles. I mean, I can't even imagine when I see pictures of Los Angeles from the 60s and 70s, it just looked fucking nuts.
I just got into town about an hour ago.
Yeah.
Look around, see which way the wind blows.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was good.
Yeah.
But where were you, in New York?
No, I grew up in Albuquerque. I'm younger. I'm 57, and I was born in Jersey, but I mostly grew up in Albuquerque.
Yeah.
I got a weird question. It's not really a trivia question, but it's just like I recounted a story that I read in an oral history of punk rock that Iggy Pop told in how the Doors inspired him to sort of be who he is. And it was based on a show that you guys did. It must have been Ann Arbor or Detroit, where Iggy went to see you guys, and Jim did the entire show like singing the songs like Mickey Mouse or in a weird voice, and he wouldn't stop it. And the audience was getting furious, and they were fucking like just mad as hell, and he would not stop doing it. And Iggy thought it was the most amazing thing he'd ever seen.
Well, I'm glad to hear that, but I'm sorry, Mark, my brain cells are not clicking on that one.
So it was that crazy to where something like that wouldn't stand out.
Well, the whole show, maybe a few minutes.
Yeah, maybe his memory's off a little bit.
Maybe a poetic license.
Sure. So let's talk about this, like the drive to find truth and the sort of idea of what art is supposed to do seems to be something that you've always been obsessed with. Did
you notice I quoted you doing?
Yeah, I saw that during Shanling interview. Yeah,
exactly.
But when you were I like the way you start is that you grew up in a creative house to a certain degree, huh?
Yeah, and okay, I got this idea. I would do a tip of the hat to various musical icons who inspired me, and so I wrote a few chapters, and then I thought, my mom, she encouraged piano and drums, so I'll write a chapter on her. Then, and I thought, let's be autobiographical. I'll stick it at the beginning of the book. Then it hit me a few weeks ago, and wait a minute. In the chapter on Elvin Jones, Coltrane's drummer, I talk about how to drummers and everyone that the first drum beat you ever heard was your mother's heartbeat in the womb.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
And then of course she's the first chapter. I was in her womb.
Yeah. Yeah. And what I found sort of compelling was this idea that, she had some hardship in her life and some loss early on.
Oh, yeah.
And that, creativity, that the sort of, she was driven to paint and draw to sort of manage the grief.
Oh, man, that's good. I don't know if I implied that, but that helps me. Yeah, that's why she painted till 94. She channeled it. And that's what the book is sort of about, whether you're a professional musician or playing your piano in the closet and nobody hears it, you're still getting in this zone that sort of feeds you and heals you.
Well, when did you know for yourself? I mean, like when you were a kid and you were because you also do a chapter with a teacher of yours Fred Katz, right?
Yeah.
And but when you were a kid, I mean, did you want to be an artist, or did you want to just be a rock and roller because the girls liked it?
No, I fell in love with music at 8 years old, playing the piano, and then I played in all the bands in school and all that. But I never thought I would make a living at it. It's such a crapshoot, right?
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
So that's why when I went to college, I majored in accounting. Money, accounting.
Sure.
And then I got D's and went, oh, okay, maybe I should major in something I like.
Yeah.
Music. But then I dropped out.
Right. And then what happened?
And then I got in this band and prayed that it would pay the rent 10 years. And I'm 76 in a week, and I'm still talking about this fucking band.
Well, it happens with the guys that survive. You know what I mean? You make that much of a cultural impact. You're sort of, I guess it's sort of an albatross, but there's got to be some pride in it still, right?
Oh, totally. I mean, in my, first book, I have 3 self-centered memoirs.
Yeah. Well, that's the nature of the form.
I argue with Ray because he's like kind of selling the Doors like Willie Loman a little too much. And he's giving me shit saying, John, well, it's better to be in the Doors than not. And I said, well, of course, Ray. I have Of the Doors permanently etched on my forehead, and I'm very proud of it. But, I also get divorced and have to go to the bathroom.
Yeah.
So
you have a life. So, but like when you guys started, I mean, when did you find, I guess in looking at the book and, having not read your other books, when did you sort of know that you were going to, that what you were doing was not mainstream, it was not, necessarily designed to make hits, but, that you were on the path of an artist and not just a rock band? When did you start seeing it as art? Was it something that happened in the Doors when you guys started taking more creative risks?
Well, I mean, we always wanted to become as popular as possible, but I guess in Jim's lyrics were this searching of, that I was young. I didn't understand it all really, but it turned me on. And I'm thinking about you talking to Gary and about truth is in the silence and the void and addiction. Gary goes on to say it's addiction if you can't sit quietly. Pretty interesting stuff.
Oh, addiction to distraction. Well, I mean, but how did you survive? It seems that, given that what you were surrounded with, that somehow, watching Jim, kind of self-destruct, that somehow or another, the other 3 of you did all right. It didn't seem like you guys went down the same path much.
Well, that was a teaching. Jim was always going too far.
Yeah.
It's interesting. I, for years, would get asked the question, if Jim was around today, would he be clean and sober? And I always said, nah, he was a kamikaze drunk. And then a few years ago, wait, hold it. I know a lot of really cool people, Clapton, Eminem, of course he would. It's a different time.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
But he was an example, and I definitely was more cautious, certainly dabbled. But,
but you didn't want to die.
Not yet. I still don't.
Good. In order to know that you can break on through the other side, there's some party that's trying to get there, and you don't know what that's going to require. So we assume that he's on the other side now.
Yeah.
Yeah. But like it seems like this book that you kind of moved through. When did you first meet, Elvin Jones? Was he an influence on you when you were younger?
Well, yeah. I as a teenager, stumbled into Shelley's Manhole in Hollywood. Well, I was a jazz maniac. Like the chapter on Ray, our initiation was sharing the jazz mentors we loved. Uh-huh. And so I was telling Ray I saw Coltrane many times.
Where, in L.A.?
Yeah. With Elvin, and I didn't know I was seeing something that was really iconic, but I knew there was magic. I just knew it.
How old were you when you were going to see them?
18 or something.
Where downtown? Where was that? Where were they playing the Coltrane guys?
In Hollywood.
Oh yeah.
I went to Tijuana and got my fake ID that said I was 21, and the door guy said, "Nah, it's fake, but you can come in."
Yeah.
And it just fed me. I couldn't believe this drumming. It was so primal.
Yeah.
And a conversation with Coltrane, and
right.
And I kind of got the idea to have a conversation with Jim. So.
But so you were, but so from early on, you were kind of like, your brain was able to lock into that kind of journey. It takes a certain type of mind to lock into Coltrane and jazz in general. But you were a freak for it early on.
Yeah, I guess I'm a seeker. I've been blessed with, all these chapters I saw. I was in Jamaica before reggae came to the States.
Yeah.
And so I got in there, and, I saw Coltrane before he became giant.
Do you remember when Coltrane kind of started going, were you able to stay with him throughout the whole journey when he started getting really out there? You still dug it?
Oh yeah, most definitely. Because I knew his journey from bebop to cool jazz with Miles, to his own quartet, and then his own quartet went further out. So I'd go anywhere with him because
And did you got to talk to Elvin Jones?
Yeah, I then saw him at Royce Hall, and then I went up to the stage because it's not like rock. It wasn't a Berlin Wall. You could just go up there. And I just listened to motherfucker.
Answer it. Tell him to call you back.
Hey, I'm doing an interview. Bye. I don't know who that was. Oh well. So I go on stage, and Elvin is taking the nails out that he hammered on the floor of Royce Hall to keep his bass drum from sliding.
Oh wow.
Whoa. Talk about strong.
Yeah.
And I'm afraid to talk to him.
Yeah.
But then years later, after Coltrane died, I see him in another club, and I bring him my first book, Riders on the Storm, real nervous that, jazz is a higher art form, and he'd be condescending.
Yeah.
And he'd never heard of the Doors.
Come on.
and I said, Elvin, in here I wrote that you gave me my hands. And he was so gracious, and then by the end of his life, if he was in town, I'd carry his drums to the car.
Oh, really? You go see him wherever he was and help him out?
Yeah.
It's a harder life, isn't it? Jazz.
Yeah.
So you guys were kind of friends until he passed.
Kind of.
Yeah.
Mentors. That's what I'm writing about.
Sure, I get it. But I mean, these guys. It's interesting that at the time that the Doors were around, there was sort of a crashing of. There was a period there in the 70s, in late 60s where the generations were kind of mixing, and you had the old timer rock and roll guys, and you guys were the new wave, but you were sometimes you would do shows together or be around, right?
Yeah,
when did you meet Jerry Lee Lewis?
Oh, well, that was later.
Yeah.
That was interesting. We got big enough so we thought we had the power to dictate the second act.
Uh-huh.
So we were playing the Hollywood Bowl, and we said, and this is before Johnny Cash had a TV show. We said, well, Johnny Cash, I walked the line. And they said, we're not hiring a felon.
Really?
I said, okay. And we couldn't do it. But then we played the Forum, and we got Jerry Lee Lewis. And, we were pleased to tip the hat to the early 50s rockers.
When the Doors played the Forum, you guys, he was an opening act?
He opened. And he had been playing country music, and we warned him, you got to play some of your hits. And, and the audience was going, Jim, Doors.
Yeah.
And he cantankerous. He got up on the piano at the end, and he said, for those of you like me, God love you. For the rest of you, have a heart attack.
Did he play the hits, though? Did he play them?
He played them. He played with his feet. He slammed the piano.
Yeah. And was he nice to you guys?
He was. I mean, they showed up without any instruments, which was rather odd. Can we borrow